All right. Let me see if this is actually working. Seems like the sound is all right. Hmm. All right, good. All right, so I just wanted to jump on quickly to talk about what we saw in gold today. Sorry, it's midnight here. And right now, Thailand has been really rough. Like, we've really been suffering from COVID and the pandemic here. Economy's struggling so bad, so my businesses have been suffering. So that's why I haven't been able to do as many videos as I really want. But I just want to jump on here to really kind of talk about gold price and just talk about, a couple different things. First of all, why was I so wrong when I initially released a video about breaking down out of 1760 and potentially trying to test this 1750 level? I'm going to talk about that. Going to talk about NFP data and the unemployment data that came out, which reminds me we should really bring up investing.com so that we can actually look at the news or the actual data points. Yeah, so as we can see, basically, today, in case you weren't aware, non-farm payrolls, we saw, I mean, a pretty positive news. Basically, 850,000 new jobs were created, right? Um, so that's really positive. And previously, the last few months, as I discussed in the video, kind of going through or previewing NFP before, we had missed in terms of the forecast on NFP. But this time we've actually basically the U.S. has shown that jobs are being created right now. 850,000 jobs were created versus a forecast of 700,000, um, which is extremely positive. Very, very bullish news for the dollar. Yet we kind of saw um, gold price go up, or and the dollar kind of really struggle after initially kind of having that kind of breakout here, right? So what really happened here? I think that's really the question probably on everybody's mind regarding like how on earth this type of NFP data could actually lead to, I mean, not particularly strong dollar bullishness. But anyway, we're going to cover all of that kind of right now. Um, so I think one thing where I personally kind of not made a mistake, but I kind of maybe I missed something key, which was that um, I think one thing that we have to really remember is that yes, despite fundamentals definitely driving trends, driving, bullish, bearish narratives on gold and other currencies over, extended periods of time, we have to also understand that markets ultimately are psychological. And what I mean by that is that um, at certain levels, people want to buy, and then at certain, or, take positions, whether it's longing or shorting. And then at a certain point, people are going to want to close those positions and make profits on them. And I think one thing that was clear is that I think based off the price action that we saw, especially on the dollar, I think one thing that's kind of clear is that, you know, we were, this 92.5 level was definitely a strong profit taking level. And there was especially a lot of like news coming out that not news but kind of like rumors, I guess you could say, more than anything, that the NFP data was going to be positive, and everything that we saw leading up to this point really suggested that, meaning that you know jobs data was starting to look better. Lots of different things were starting to look better. And sure enough, I think there was a little bit of a situation where you kind of had buy the hype, sell the news, right? We had that kind of situation going on. And I think we saw something similar like that in gold, where initially when the news broke out, right, it was here, we had a huge volatility dump here, right? Price just, sorry, was it there? Oh, what am I talking about? Yeah, that was there. We had this huge volatility dump where, we had kind of started regaining some momentum up to the upside. We did not manage to make 1760 new resistance. You could even potentially argue that this may have been a small double bottom on the hour chart. It kind of is what it is. But when we had that initial positive news come out, it could have been a situation where people were really selling the news. So they were kind of expecting this dump and then they were selling. At the same time, people were trying to trade the volatility, and that's why we kind of just got this crazy up and down price action, right? When the news came out. So I think one thing that I'm making as a personal mental note for myself is that it doesn't matter also sometimes what the fundamental trends say, but soon, even in trends that are clearly more bullish for, let's say, the dollar or gold or vice versa, clearly in those situations, people are still going to want to take profits at certain key levels. And I do believe that's what was kind of happening as well. Also, that's another reason why we got that strong bounce off 1750. People were probably holding some very longer positions, right? Even from potentially back up here, if you're like more of a real swing trader, if you were holding still positions up here, people could have been, trying to buy multiple positions closer to 1800, and then when they got that 50 point move, they were really trying to sell here. Then when we kind of got that resell off here again, that's what maybe caused that double bottom and the bulls to take over. So I think we have to also understand that, or I have to really understand more than anything, that sometimes this profit taking is going to happen. And although I guess where I made the mistake was is that although I know that um, this dump was pretty strong, and we didn't really get any sort of pullback. I did personally think that this kind of choppy consolidation period here was kind of a signal that, okay, we could still definitely go a lot lower, also just given the fundamentals. But ultimately, it looks like that people were just trying to really take profits. And now that there's been some profit taking there, 1800 has still clearly held strong. I think now maybe we're in a situation where, one, the dollar could finally go higher. So we still did set a higher a higher high here, right? Oops, fucking A. We did set a higher high here, right? So let's see if we can also set a higher low as we maybe, kind of test here and then continue to go up. Yes, this is clearly now a level where people wanted to take profits, and people were aiming for this position, whether it was back down here or even over here. People wanted to take profits over here, clearly. So let's see how it goes now that there has been clearly some profit taking going, and also the big data's come out, and we'll just kind of see how we're going to really move from here. So that's one thing I would say that I kind of fucked up on more than anything. I mean, that's what happens when you like do these videos, or it's actually really great for kind of learning, because when you do these videos and you're just kind of putting your ideas out there, it's in those situations where you start realizing, like, where you kind of make mistakes. It enables you to kind of look back on everything. Like, I can even watch my old video and be like, God, what was I thinking? And I can kind of analyze what I maybe was thinking at the time and why my thought was wrong, all those different types of things. Anyway, so let's see. Now, in terms of the actual data itself, so although the NFP data was actually very positive, so more jobs were created, as we can see, though, the unemployment rate, although still pretty close to the forecast, not that much off, but the unemployment rate did raise a little bit, so it was worse than expected, right? As fucking investing.com says. So this kind of um, mixed jobs data is definitely interesting, and I think the question on a lot of people's minds is just, well, what does it really mean, right? I mean, what does it mean when we're basically creating more jobs and getting, creating more jobs, but then at the same time, our unemployment rate is going up. What does that mean? And clearly, what it means more than anything is that, yeah, even though there's more jobs being created, people aren't incentivized to take them right now. Okay. For whatever the reasons may be in the States, whether it's just all the free money, whether it's, um, the pandemic just kind of changing everybody's opinion on work. I mean, who the fuck really knows? But that's clearly what's happening here. So what does this then ultimately suggest as to whether we're going to be bullish or bearish on the dollar? My personal take on this, and this is just me personally, but my personal take on this is that ultimately this is still kind of, or this kind of outcome could have been expected. The Fed even has said outright, right? Like Powell said this outright, that it's going to take time still for people to get back to work, right? When there's still really strong unemployment benefits happening, when there's, a lot of free money essentially being put out there right now, still by the government, of course, people are not going to be incentivized to take jobs. And if you watch any video, but any other interviews done by analysts or whatever, especially regarding small business right now in the States, one of the clear biggest issues that people have kept on mentioning is the fact that small business small businesses cannot find people to work. Even though the economy is reopening, the vaccination program has been extremely successful in the States, people cannot find employees. And um, it's just a big problem. But so the data here is kind of clearly reflecting that. But with that being said, um, it's kind of going to how the Fed said it would go, right? Yes, of course, jobs need to be created first, and the economy still really needs to be kickstarted. And but eventually, when they start easing on all of these unemployment benefits and all these different things, people will eventually have to start working. And I believe a lot of benefits, if I'm not mistaken, are starting to end in around September. So ultimately, I still think that you know, in the short term, this type of data will signify that we're still pretty bullish on the dollar. That this is my take on it. Um, but I think we'll, over the coming weeks, or yeah, the next couple of weeks, we'll really need to see if um, data comes out or if news comes out, etc., which is going to continue to pump that kind of narrative that yes, we're still pretty bullish on the dollar. Um, One potential alternative, of course, could be the fact that we're creating all these jobs, but then people are still not taking them. That could actually be bullish for gold in that it's kind of creating this very strange mix of fear. Okay. I always say this, but I believe that gold is driven by fear. It's not driven by inflation. It's not driven by, you know, these types of correlations. More than anything, I think it's correlated to fear. Okay. Um, the fact that, jobs are being created, money's being spent, but then people aren't working. Maybe this is something that's going to create, sorry, it's going to actually create more fear in the market, more uncertainty about the economy, if there could already be more uncertainty anyways. And maybe this could actually also spark a gold rally. I don't know. I'm still going to be trying to, you know, sell gold and buy the dollar here for the time being. I'm only really going to stop thinking that, I think, unless we really see 1800 get passed. And of course, on this hourly chart, it does look pretty decent for gold. I mean, we definitely have this nice trend line going on, clearly. And we're kind of approaching that 1800 level, at this step by step by step level. But I still think that the data and everything is still pointing right now to the fact that the US economy is genuinely recovering. Um, at like a rate that the Fed is expecting. And if things are going as per expectation right now, I'm not sure how we can necessarily be bullish on gold from a fundamental standpoint. That's just my kind of take on it at the moment. But of course, ultimately, price is going to dictate these things. So let's see how we really hold up over these over the next few days. Obviously, the market is soon going to close, and then we'll see how everything is looking out next week. Um, let's see if we get that bounce off 1800 again. If we actually break down out of this trend line, this obviously should be a lot closer, something like that. Maybe we're just going to continue staying in this fucking choppy channel again. Clearly, this is still a level, right? Despite the fact that we had this breakdown here, it's still a level where everything is just very, very undecided in terms of buyers and sellers, right? If we get stuck here again, both on the dollar and everything. So let's see how everything progresses. All right, guys, I'm really tired, so I'm going to go to bed, finish this beer. But if you have any questions, leave a comment. Sorry for my lack of energy. Sorry for my really random rambling today, but I just wanted to put a video out there. Take it easy, guys. Give me a like, bro.